Hello, 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 hello out there. How you doing? This is everybody's favorite black conservative in New York, Christopher Wright. Just coming here to present with you another one of my infamous walk and talks. So, what's today walk and talk's going to be about today? Heard some people telling me to speed it up a little bit with the introduction, so I'm going to give it to you quick. It's going to be Kneelgate, NFL Kneelgate. That's going to be the topic of discussion today. So, what's my stance on this, on the whole matter? I'll get to that, but let me kind of give you a little bit of background first. I've been watching football for quite a bit of time. It started off in the late 80s, early 90s, watching 49ers football. My dad was a 49ers fan since the 70s, so when I came around in 83, I'm 34 years old, that's where I started with him. You know, father and son bonding, of course. I'm sure all you guys are familiar with that. Those with sons or those, everybody had, you know, those men out there with fathers, who had fathers in their life. I'm very familiar, I'm sure, with the whole sit down watching football with your dad. So, we used to sit there and watch a lot of NFL, like, you know, late 80s 49ers teams, the Ronnie Lotts, the Roger Craigs, you know, the Jerry Rices, the Joe Montanas, of course. Can't forget Joe. And, you know, it was very enjoyable. I learned a lot about teamwork and manhood and just hard work ethic and building a great team. And it was, you know, good times. So, of course, when this whole issue with Colin Kaepernick came up and he was disrespecting the flag, you know, taking a knee and all that good stuff, of course, I hit a little close to home for me. And when it did, you know, it got my attention, of course. And people were asking me, well, how do I feel about it at the time? And to be honest, I didn't like it at all. My dad is a retired Army major, which I mentioned in my previous videos, but I'm bringing it up to say, you know, so I always had love for America. Even when I was in Germany for 5 years and lived on a military base, we still got a lot of American television and, you know, wrestling and cartoons and all the good stuff that, you know, all Americana, you know, and I always had love for the country. So when he was doing the kneeling thing, I just immediately said, nah, man, you can't be doing that, man. You can't be disrespecting the troops. You know, you can't be disrespecting the, you know, the soldiers that died out on the battlefield before someone's even lived, you know. And people were saying, no, he's not disrespecting that. He's not disrespecting the soldiers. He's not disrespecting the flag, yada, yada, yada. And I'm like, come on, man. We all know how it works. Since kindergarten, we all taught how to say the pledge. You stand up. First things first, you stand up, put your hand over your heart, and you say the pledge. And that's out of respect. That's not just out of coincidence. It's out of respect. So when you kneel, of course, that's an immediate form of disrespect for the flag. So once that happened, I was kind of looking at the whole situation, and I was like, man, come on, man. Y'all already know what's really going on here. And especially with Colin Kaepernick, because to me, he didn't say anything about kneeling or anything along those lines at all at first. You know, when he stood in the first in the league and he was doing good and numbers were good, he went to the Super Bowl that one year. You know, when things were up, you know, hey, everything was all good. He had love for the sport. You know, he was doing Madden commercials with him dressing up like Al Pacino instead of a woman. You know, wasn't so pro-black then when he was doing that. But he was doing all stuff like that, just out there, having fun, doing commercials, making money, having a good time. Then when you're third string, you're no longer starting, people are forgetting your name. Now all of a sudden you're Mr. Malcolm X Part 2. Like, yeah, right, okay. That's not how it works, buddy, because you grew an afro out and you take a knee during the pledge. You're not Malcolm X, or you're not Martin Luther King. Sorry, you're not. So people try to put him on that plane, and, you know, anytime they did interviews with him, they asked him, well, what's your message? And, you know, what's your reason for doing this? He said, oh, black oppression, and, you know, oh, black, you know, police on black violence. And I'm like, those are the stereotypical answers you hear on CNN, MSNBC, everywhere else. You know, it's just stereotypical, man. You're not saying anything new. You're not saying anything like that people can really immediately just get on and change. And then he had no results. Like, this is no conclusion to that. He'll just say that and wouldn't offer a way to, I'm gonna switch my hands here. He wouldn't offer a way to solve the issue. So that's why I just kind of knew it was BS. He didn't really have a true message. He didn't really want to truly fix anything. He just wanted to put himself back out there in the public eye, which it worked for him. He got himself back out there. But, you know, I didn't have respect for it. And another beef I had was when Jerry Rice, my favorite football player of all times, by the way, shout out to Jerry, number 80, came out and said, you know, support the country and the flag, you know, on Twitter. You know, he came out and said, no, I support, you know, stand for the flag, I have respect. And he was attacked all over Twitter, by Black Twitter or whatever you want to call it. And they pretty much got to the point where they were saying all kinds of crazy stuff to him, disrespecting man to the point where he had to come out and apologize. He didn't have to, but he did. because he didn't want, Jerry's not a confrontational person like that. So he apologized, and I was just, like, okay, you guys gonna make this guy who is some consider me included, the greatest football player of all times, and you're gonna just belittle his character when he's just telling you to respect the president, but a guy who just third-string quarterback, never done anything for the 49ers but losing the Super Bowl, he grows an afro, takes a knee, now he gets respect. That's BS. And another issue I was having with the whole Kneelgate thing, and people want to say, oh no, what's the big deal? I'm like, what's the big deal? Only a couple years before that, Tim Tebow was taking knees in the end zone after having touchdowns. And he was doing it for Christian-based purposes, for prayer, symbolized prayer. And the NFL made him stop doing it. They started fining him, then they just told him this, he needs to stop doing it. He has to stop doing it. And you remember when RG3 had an interview, a press conference after a game one time, and he had a shirt, I forgot what it said on it, had something related to Jesus on his shirt. And they made him take his shirt and put it inside out before he did a press conference. So he wanted to get that Christian message out to the public. So when it comes to Christianity, boy, the NFL, they're hardcore, man. They'll do whatever it takes not to get that Christian message out. But if it comes to somebody disrespecting the league, if it comes to somebody, disrespecting the country or its fans of the league, oh yeah, they're like, yeah, go ahead and do what you gotta do, make it happen. And that shows you where the NFL stands. It doesn't stand with the fans, it doesn't stand with the people. It stands with political correctness, that's where it stands with. And so they do that to those players that, just wanna show love for God, but a player disrespecting the country, no censorship whatsoever. So that's complete BS. And another issue that I have with the whole situation is, when he did it, not too long afterwards, he went to Miami to play a game, and he had a Fidel Castro shirt on. And in Miami, of all places, highest Cuban populated area in America, he goes over there and wears a Fidel Castro shirt in a press conference. And it's like, bro, you're talking about, black oppression and, white cops and black violence. Then you go and wear a Fidel Castro shirt in Miami. Come on. And the reason why those Cubans were in America in the first place is to get away from Fidel Castro. So you obviously aren't some revolutionary who knows all his history and really wants to make a statement. You're just somebody, like I said, just trying to put his face back out there, and it worked for him. And I don't really care at all that he can't get back in the league. I'd say that's kind of deserved, but it is what it is. But the NFL is just Roger Goodell. He's the issue. Let's be real here. He's the issue with the NFL. He just seems like he's a far leftist by the way he carries himself, and the issues that he worries about and the issues that he doesn't worry about says a lot about the man, and he's brought the league down a lot. They're even looking at the game and, just trying to, it seems like emasculate it, man. They're bringing in male cheerleaders now that they just announced, and I'm like, I'm not nothing to get homosexuality or anything like that, but I'm just like, what is this about? Why are you bringing it out now? We've forgotten how many years in the league without, it's just been female cheerleaders, and all of a sudden you bring in male cheerleaders. And it's like any form of masculinity, they're trying to take out of football and like emasculate the game. And they've done it to so many other things in our society, from movies to music, TV. Men are just being emasculated all over, and now they're doing it to the NFL. And the ratings are starting to get affected by it, as you can see. They had the worst ratings in almost their history of the NFL was last year. It was horrendous how big of a drop-off they had in viewership. So the people are speaking, and they're not speaking like they want this to be continued. Kneelgate has been an issue, it's been a problem. To me, it disrespects the veterans in our country too as well. There's nothing I can look at it and say, okay, this is a positive movement or a movement that's progressive in any way. And as you can see, it's starting again this year, and it's already starting up. So that's why I want to make this video, just kind of make my point of view on the whole matter. But that's my message for today's walk away, was pretty much telling people to, walk away from the NFL and Kneelgate. Don't be a part of that whole movement. There's nothing there. There's no substance there. If you have a football team that you like that isn't participating, like the Cowboys or, somebody told me the Giants weren't involved. You can do you. Watch your team. If they're not participating, you feel comfortable, yeah, go ahead. There's nothing wrong with that. I support you doing what you got to do. But me personally, I'm just not going to watch the sport because I just don't want to add to the, I don't want to add to the viewership. I want to use my freedom of speech to not watch the game. Like they can use their freedom of speech to kneel, I can use my freedom of speech not to support. So that's how I choose to use mine. And they have their right and I have mine. And that's the way this country works, and that's the beauty about America. But that is my message for today's walk and talk. again, thank you for everybody for support. I mean, it's really all appreciated, man. I got over 6,000 subscribers here, man, and it's all because of you guys just spreading the message and, you know, all the positive things you said to me. I appreciate it. You know, of course, I get the haters, oh, your Uncle Tom, blah, 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 all that nonsense, whatever. I don't care about that at all. The positive messages outweigh that nonsense tenfold. So just want to say thank you to everyone out there. And of course, thank you, and God bless you, everybody who's sporting. And of course, last but not least, God bless America. Have a good day.